Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 3. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys could join us for this Wednesday edition of the show. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Here we are right here in the middle of the week now, and I think you've got a third of the training camp. You got 2/3 to go. You got a third down, and look, I think we're less than 48 hours away from NFL preseason football starting on Thursday night. So a lot to be excited about. And you'll obviously be headed back out to Latrobe here in a few hours to observe practice number 7.
And I think it's going to be a hot one, 90-something degrees in Latrobe, PA. And with tempers flaring yesterday, I can only imagine what 90 degrees on top of that might do to those guys. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. One somber note to start on, I just wanted to address the passing of Vin Scully announced last night. Just an icon of an announcer, never going to be another voice like him. So I know that's not related to anything Steelers or football or NFL wise, but really just saddened by that news, Dave.
Boy, iconic, especially me growing up, and watching a lot of baseball and the whole, the Kirk Gibson call, I think is one of the things that he's probably best known for. Obviously was the voice of the Dodgers for several years, called football games, I think called the catch of Dwight Clark against the Cowboys. Just a legendary, and look, he even has an appearance in a Meatloaf song. He was he has a cameo in Paradise by the Dashboard Light as well. So a guy that it was hard over the last, 20 years. It's been hard to find anybody that's ever taken issue with Vin Scully, just really iconic and knew how to call a game and knew when to shut up and everything that goes along with that. So, boy, what was he? 94. Can you imagine living on this earth for 94 years? He definitely saw a lot of things during his time.
Sure. And a life certainly well lived. And so you had Bill Russell, Vin Scully, certainly a tough week in the sports world. But we'll move on here and talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and talk about Omar Khan, who held a press conference yesterday. Were you a little surprised by that? I know it's kind of getting a new feel for how Khan will do things, but that, summer presser, not something I don't think Kevin Colbert really ever did. So it was a pleasant surprise to hear from Omar Khan.
I think Kevin would do kind of I don't think it was like an official air on Steelers.com platforms type of thing. But I think I remember him sitting down every year, like at 93.7 The Fan or something like that at the start of training camp. Now, obviously, he hasn't been able to do that in the last few years with COVID out at Latrobe and all. But I seem to remember several years in a row of him at least giving a long interview like that.
But was it the press conference setting, or was it just
I don't
somebody's
remember
show?
I don't remember it being the press conference setting.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And I mean, I know Colbert would do, during a preseason game at halftime or before a game, he would talk with Pomp or somebody, and we'll see if Khan does that. But anyway, I guess that's all besides the point. Omar Khan speaking, obviously nothing earth shattering there. The biggest topic is about Diontae Johnson, and Omar Khan confirmed there have been talks between Johnson's camp and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where those talks will go, we're not sure. Omar Khan, at least publicly, saying their intention and their hope is that Diontae Johnson remains a Pittsburgh Steeler for a long time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is with that. I mean, he said all the right things. What did we expect Omar to say when asked about Diontae? We wish he'd get back in the lineup, and he ain't getting a deal. That kind of response there. I thought Omar handled it the right way there. I truly do believe that they would like to have him long term, but obviously whether or not the two sides will be able to agree on a deal is going to be the hardest thing here. He was asked about, is there any possible way that Diontae could be fined or for not being out there, and in so many words I think he said that there was a way, but hinted that they probably want to avoid that if possible here. Now, Diontae's agent, who's also the agent for, I believe, Benny Snell Jr., was at Latrobe on Tuesday. Not that means anything, but I'm willing to bet Omar and his agent at least said hello to each other while he was out there. This is a hard deal to do. And, obviously we've talked about this for a good chunk of the off season here. And especially when I don't know if how many listeners probably saw, Jason from Over the Cap put something on his Twitter feed, a nice little chart layout of the kind of the most recent wide receivers to get paid. And in that he had what's called, year zero money, year one money, year two money, and I think, or at least through year two money of what the new money cash flow is. He also then had what the average per year for the new average per year for each player, the adjusted average per year, the percentage guaranteed, the amount of money guaranteed, really all the kind of metrics that are good to have for comparative usage when thinking about a next contract for Diontae Johnson. And the thing that really stuck out to me was kind of the year zero money, and year zero money would be the new money in the first year of the deal, or the present year of the deal, that would be above and beyond what the player was already scheduled to make. Got me? So, if in other words, take what the player got as far as a base salary and a signing bonus, and then subtract out what they were already due to earn prior to the deal, and then that would be your year zero money. And some of that of these guys, I think, ranges from around 20 million with Deebo Samuel to like, I think as high as like 26 million in there in year zero money. Now, Deebo Samuel was a little bit different. You probably say, well, only 20 million, in that first year. Well, he's got more guarantees. Or was it Terry McCall? Hold on a minute here. Let me pull that up real quick and I'll double check. It was one of them that has more fully guaranteed through the first few years there. So that's why they give up a little bit of the money to up front, because they know they got it fully guaranteed in this thing. Mm-hmm. Let me pull it up.
Was it? Yeah, let's see if it's Deebo or McCollum. It's just every receiver being paid.
Okay, yeah. Year zero money for DK Metcalf, and remember, this is new first year or present year money above and beyond what the player was already scheduled to make. With DK Metcalf, 26.78 million. Deebo Samuel, 20.833 million. Terry McLaurin, 26.525 million, and AJ Brown just 20 million. Okay. Now the Deebo Samuel, why that's around the 20.8 million and not as high as the 26 million that McLaren and Metcalf got, is Deebo Samuel, 54.1% of his entire deal is fully guaranteed, whereas Metcalf 40.7%, whereas McLaren 47.8%. And of those three wide receivers, Deebo Samuel, 41 million is the highest amount fully guaranteed in total. DK Metcalf, 31 million. Terry McLaurin, 34.654 million there. So when you look at this and then you assume the fact that the Steelers are probably not going to want to fully guarantee money for Diontae outside of what they give him for a signing bonus and a new 2022 base salary, I think that to get a deal done is probably going to have to fall somewhere in between that $26 million and $20 million year zero money, which would put it around $23 million. Now, Diontae, his old money that's on the table right now is almost $3 million when you consider what his base salary is scheduled to be, and then what the extra game check, because it moving to a 17 game season that will additionally be at some point added on, even if it his contract stays the same here. So say it's $3 million that he's owed this year already, and he wants $23 million more in year zero money. That puts it at him needing to get paid a combined signing bonus and base salary of around $26 million in total. So that's going to be one of the sticking points here, especially if there's no guaranteed money past 2022. And then the other aspect of this thing that's going to make it difficult to do is the amount of years. Most of these guys are getting just the kind of the 2-year extensions, right? And I mean, 3-year extensions. I can bet you that the Steelers are not only going to want Diontae to give up not getting guaranteed money past 2022, not only are they going to want him to probably have an average yearly value probably around 20 to 21 million, but they're probably also going to want him to sign an extension for 4 years, right? Those are some of the because look, it'll be tough to give Diontae Johnson $26 million. I mean, it could be done. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it just makes it would make his first year cap hit that much higher. I just everything points to those. I think those three things as the things that make this deal the hardest to do. And if a deal, I'm not going to say a deal's not going to get done, but if a deal gets done, if indeed gets done, I think it'll be because Diontae's side giving up a little bit more than the Steelers side. I think the Steelers would be willing to go 20 to 21 million average yearly value, but I don't think that they're going to be willing to go with any fully guaranteed money outside of what he gets signing bonus and base salary. And I'm willing to bet that they want this to be a 4-year extension and not a 3-year extension, whereas Diontae is wanting that to be shorter because, hey, you're not giving me all this guaranteed money, and I want to be able to hit the market again a year earlier. So people keep asking me, Dave, is this what's your gut feeling on this? Is it going to get done? I don't know. I want to try to play, smart here and all like that, but this is a very, very tricky deal. I do believe that they want him around, but I know enough about contracts that I know that and what his perceived market value is, and I know the way that Steelers probably want to do this deal. It all depends on how much budge I think there is on Diontae's side. So, Dave, is the deal going to get done? I don't know. But I would not be surprised either way with this because I believe it can get done.
I think you did a great job laying out all the obstacles, and you're right, that is a lot to overcome, and that would require quite a bit of compromise, especially on Johnson's side of things, given the way all the receivers have been paid this offseason. This is me like purely going from the gut here. I just have this weird optimism all of a sudden that a deal will happen. And I don't think it's going to happen for a while. I think we're talking late August at the earliest, probably more in September, given that deadlines for action. And it took a long time on TJ Watt. And that deal was near certain to get done last offseason. But I think Omar Khan has that philosophy of, keep good players, pay good players. He's shown that so far. He's been aggressive about getting deals done early for Minka Fitzpatrick and Chris Boswell, and those are different caliber type of players. I get that. But I don't know. It's a little bit of some other reporting that's been out there, but a little bit of my gut as well, saying that when there's a will, there's a way. And as you said, I believe the Steelers do want to keep Diontae Johnson long-term. That's good for the offense. It's good for these young and new quarterbacks. And eventually, whenever Kenny Pickett starts playing, you want a guy like Diontae Johnson to throw to. They have the money to spend. They want to retain good players the way they retained good defensive talent they've drafted over the years. So given all the hurdles, how do they overcome all that? I'm not quite sure. You're better equipped to answer that as you laid out. But I just have a feeling that a deal will ultimately get done.
I really believe Omar Khan with what he said, but I believe that they do want him long term. But I also sense some kind of in his voice, we want him here. I sense some, I'm not sure if we can get this done type of
right.
deal.
Well, and I'm sure that's how he honestly feels, because they haven't probably gotten into like super extensive talks yet. You don't know how it's going to go. But when there is that desire to get a deal done on both sides, generally in Pittsburgh, a deal gets done, correct?
Yeah, but, Diontae's side, look, I don't think it's going to have an average yearly value of less than $20 million, or else
right.
all the other kids will laugh at Diontae.
Right, we're talking probably 21 to 22, probably on Diontae.
Yeah, I think 21 to 22 as far as the new money average goes. I don't think they're going to bend on the fully guaranteed. Now, Diontae might get injury guarantee base salary in 2023 and maybe a roster bonus in March that's not fully guaranteed, that at least that can help his earlier cash flow, I guess in this. But I think he's going to have to accept that he could potentially come out of this deal with being the bottom man on the totem pole behind Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, McLaurin in almost all the metrics.
Right. And the question is he willing to do that, or does he want to bet himself? But there's also the realization that if he doesn't take that hypothetical deal, would he get franchise tagged and not have that opportunity to test the market? That, again, as you've mentioned, is something I'm sure Pittsburgh will make Johnson and his agent are well aware of, that leverage that Pittsburgh ultimately has.
Yeah, Omar's not afraid to pull the franchise tag sword out and brandish it around, and that
they call him Khan for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it's something obviously every team can use, but I really think over the years that we've learned, the old Kevin Colbert saying he doesn't leave until we say he leaves,
Right.
I mean, basically no player ever leaves unless we say they go. And that's kind of the same, attitude, I guess. Look, you're not gonna have a happy camper if this thing gets to week one and Diontae Johnson's only scheduled to earn, $2.9 million. And people say, well, the heck with him, that's his contract, blah, blah, blah. It makes it mighty hard to put the smile on your face when you see all these other guys get paid like this. And, I know a lot of people saying, well, just trade him. Well, here's the thing. Okay. That could potentially be plausible, I guess, but you're going to have to allow some team permission to work out a deal with him ahead of time, because no team in their right mind is going to trade for a player without a deal in place like him, and him just turn around and be a hold-in in their training camp and basically have them over the barrel and said, okay, you traded for me. Now I've got the leverage here because now you have to get this deal done, or else I walk in free agency and look at what all you gave up there, So, okay, yeah, they could potentially trade him, but if they did, you would think that part of them doing so would give a team, they'd have to give another team permission to work out a deal where it becomes kind of a trade and sign deal, if you will, at that point. And I imagine it being more likely that they sign Diontae to an extension than I do them trading him away in this.
Yeah, infinitely so. I mean, could Diontae be traded if Pittsburgh wanted and desired to trade him? Sure, there's nothing preventing that. But I don't think Pittsburgh has any appetite to actually trade him. At the very least, they're in that win now mode, right or wrong. They're not rebuilding, and they want to win now, and they want to have Diontae be the number one receiver. And I don't think Khan has any desire to trade Diontae Johnson.
And I think we talked, I don't forget which show, if it was a podcast or a special edition training camp podcast. If they could get him at, let's say, $21 million new money average, keep all the guaranteed money in 2022. So let's say it takes $26 million to do that in total. Let's say $25 million signing bonus and a $1 million guaranteed base salary in 2022. If they put $5.5 million roster bonus in the second year, had injury only guarantees in with the base salary in 2023. If all the other cash flow metrics look similarly the same and all like that, I would personally be willing to see the team sign him on such a deal, and I imagine you would be okay with such a deal as well.
I would be. I know there's a lot of fans who don't want to pay Diontae for a variety of reasons, whether that's his drop issues, the maybe lack of elite level play, or just the fungibility of the receiver, in being able to find different receivers in the play of George Pickens, et cetera, et cetera. But again, long story short, I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, nobody does right now. I know the reporting is that they're pretty far apart, but that's typical this time of year. I just think in my gut that a deal will happen. All the other receivers have been paid. Deebo Samuel with the 49ers, that relationship seemed over at one point. Deebo wanted out. I felt like there was no chance of the two sides coming together, and they came together and made a deal. DK Metcalf, there was intention there. They got a deal done. I think with Diontae, it's all been in good faith. Diontae's hard worker, keeps his head down. I know the hold-in as a whole, some people aren't happy about that, but he is there. He's doing a lot of the right things, and I think Pittsburgh will appreciate that and find a way to strike a deal. Exactly what that looks like in terms of the particulars, I think you laid out some of that. What the compromise will be, I couldn't tell you, but I just think a deal will happen.
Another thing that they could do is if Deebo's side is hell bent on a 3-year extension because of him giving up, not having guaranteed money past the first year and having a bit of a lower average yearly value, they could always tack on a avoidable year on that to help with a proration and all, and I know that they said that they don't like doing that. And
Colbert said that. Khan didn't say that, or did Khan imply that? I can't remember if Khan implied that.
Khan did say that. That was didn't he say that during his introductory press conference?
You might be right. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump the gun.
That was a mechanism that they used specifically because of COVID. Hey, look, right. I'm not gonna send him to his room without supper. If they have to. A lot of teams are doing that right now. In fact, I think Deebo's or McClung, one of them's contract, if not both, does include voidable year in there to help with a proration there. Okay. So
that's what it takes. And that's the difference between a deal getting done and not getting done. Then you do it.
Right. The only thing is, you're setting yourself up for, absolute dead money at the end of it,
Sure. But the cap's going to be up so much higher by then. I mean, it's going to be a small fraction of the cap.
All right. We spent enough time more on Diontae, but I love talking to you. I love getting rolling on the numbers. I'm going to need a shower now after this, talking numbers like that first thing in the morning. But that's why you see a report, I think, from Jerry Dulac stating they're miles, even though nobody knows how far they're apart they really are, but it would make sense that the two sides probably aren't close. But on top of that, we just got kind of the final piece of the puzzle in here with Deebo Samuel, right? All right.
Right. So, and Boswell's out of the way, and so now the focus goes on Diontae. And again, it's August 3rd. Like, I don't expect the deal to happen next week. These things take time. What they did Watt sign his deal, it was late. It was like we're getting kind of anxious about this whole thing. So them being apart, the fact they're talking is the important thing, and eventually they're going to get closer and closer.
Here's the thing. Everything's out there now. You have enough information out there. Everybody's been paid to get a fair deal done. And at this point, it would have to be fair +2 on the Steelers side, I think. And if they can get to that point, then potentially a deal gets done. There is plenty of time still, but they now have all the pieces. There's no reason, they're not waiting anything on anything at this point to get a deal done other than two sides agree.
Right. And again, just the fact the sides are talking, to me, to use the Tomlin's land the plane analogy he likes to bring up from time to time, the landing gear is down. We're not on the runway yet. We have not officially landed, but the landing gear is down, and you're kind of hopefully on that approach. And so that's just kind of where I'm at, thinking that, again, we're talking a month plus probably for a deal to actually occur. So be patient. But I think, and I'm guessing, but I think a deal will happen.
Boy, the Twitter machine's going to need some fire extinguishers if that happens, because so many people have made up their mind already that he's not worth it, that they should just let him walk and all like that. So, all right, there we are. And Omar once again was asked about Diontae, asked about the exploding wide receiver market, and basically in so many words, he says, "Look, the cap's going up. This is the market. We're probably going to see other positions start to explode as well too." He was asked, what are some of the other things he was asked about, Alex?
I didn't see anything that was too striking. He talked about the running back room, and he was happy with the depth and the guys there. Did make a reference at maybe adding to that room given the injuries to Najee Harris and Jerry McNichols, but we'll see if that comes. It did not happen yesterday, so we'll see if that occurs today.
Talked about Kevin Colbert and kind of his future still being fluid, I guess. There he says, Art and him and have been talking, but he's been a great resource for us so far. He's a phone call away, and we text and talk all the time. He says had him up here in Latrobe. It was a couple of days ago just to speak to the scouting staff about some of the stuff that he's done in the past and how we did it in the past. So that's that on Colbert.
He did say that the staff is bigger. I don't know if that's true or not. Is like the scouting staff been increased? I mean, there's been new faces and maybe one or two additional names added, but at least according to the team site, it feels about the same number of personnel than what Kevin Colbert had.
Did he say bigger?
I thought that's what reference that he used. So it's in some regard. I'm not going to be able to find the quote here, but anyway, it doesn't. That's
really probably you would know better than I would, because you monitor that stuff a lot closer than I do. So he probably did if it hit one of your hot buttons there.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's probably about it from Omar Khan. I was away at camp when that was happening, so you kind of know what he said better than I do. Anything else that Khan said you wanted to address?
Yeah, I asked about what are some of the things that they're looking for out of Kenny Pickett, throughout this training camp. And it was just a, kind of a vanilla answer. Khan said, I would say the growth. He's a young quarterback. There's a lot being thrown at him. And I would just say from his standpoint, to be able to say on the last, the day he leaves camp, that he's in a lot better position than he was day one. I think that's important for him, but I have all the confidence that he'll get there. So he just wants Pickett better leaving camp than where he arrived, and that obviously makes a lot of sense. Talked about Larry Ogunjobi and once again how the franchise is just not rushing him along. Talked about Minka and I think Tyson Alualo, about how those guys are close and we should could potentially see those guys back on the field soon. Didn't seem overly concerned about Najee getting stepped on the other day, but I think they might potentially look at this as a bullet dodged, if you will. Maybe they think a little bit twice. But I mean, look, a foot can get stepped on in any situation. He could be walking to the cafeteria and get his foot stepped on. But anywho, that was kind of the bulk of it. Obviously happy that the deal with Chris Boswell got done. And then that's probably the next topic that we need to cover real quick.
Yeah, you get to talk a lot of contracts and numbers today to start your morning, Dave. So all the speculation of Diontae Johnson will continue. All the speculation, not that there was a ton of it, I suppose, but any of it over Chris Boswell is now over, as he has received a long-term deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers that ties him with Justin Tucker as the highest paid kicker in football. So Chris Boswell, a Steeler for a long, long time.
Yeah, not a lot really to have to go over when it comes to this and the metrics on it. Let me pull them up real quick. I thought he'd come in maybe a tick higher than Justin Tucker, say about 5.1 or 5.2 million, but coming in right tied with Justin Tucker, I think is more than fair as far as the new money average goes. It is a 4-year extension, obviously. I think the Steelers termed it a new 5-year contract. Whatever you want, semantics you want to use in this. $8 million signing bonus as part of this. His new base salary is also guaranteed for skill, injury, and cap. That means it's fully guaranteed. So it looks like $9.76 million fully guaranteed as part of this deal. I know that it was reported, I think, 12.5 guaranteed of the $20 million new money that's in this deal. The other bit of that's being claimed as guaranteed is guaranteed for injury only. All right. So
Okay.
That would be his 2023 base salary, which is set to be $2.74 million. That is for injury only guarantee. And Boswell is scheduled to receive a March roster bonus of $1.3 million. And that obviously is not guaranteed here. So once again, the new money value above and beyond what he was scheduled to earn is $20 million. With that being 4 additional years, you divide that. That's $5 million new money average. The total, including old money of the deal, is $23.26 million overall. And once again, the fully guaranteed money is only in 2022. And that is 9.76. So back to the precedent they go with and look, if and I know it's just a kicker here, but if Chris Boswell can't get fully guaranteed money outside of 0 year, Diontae's not getting it. I don't think.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know. I mean,
we're talking about
aside,
you just made this kicker the highest paid kicker in the league, and you did so without giving him any fully guaranteed money outside of year 1, or year 0. I'm going to have to. Year 0 seems to be the thing to say now, so I'm going to have to get more. Yeah. I'm going to have to be with the cool kids here and start using that. I'm going to start wearing. I got to start. I see all these other people on Twitter. I got to start wearing my hat backwards too. Do you wear your hat backwards, Alex?
I'm not a good hat person. I can't pull off a good hat. It just looks terrible on my head. Yeah, I know.
Wear it backwards.
Maybe that's the issue.
I think that you probably, in fact, take a hat and wear it backwards today. I bet you get some compliments.
I will get no compliments and I will do no such thing. But yeah, I hear you on Bos versus Johnson in terms of trying to get second year guaranteed money. You could have tried to argue, just given the nature of the position and the amount of money, could that change things? But that aside, to put the focus on Boswell, he knew this deal was going to get done. It was a slam dunk. I figured it would happen sooner than later, and it basically did. And it's certainly well-deserved and well-earned. And just a crazy journey to get the Bos. You go from Sean Schweizum, and then he tears his ACL in the Hall of Fame game. Then you go to Garrett Hartley, then the disaster of a trade that was Josh Scobie, and you land on Boswell. So you kind of fall into him, but you take it. It's a happy way to go about things, and very glad that Bos is kicking for Pittsburgh for a long time because they're going to need a good kicker this year. That's for sure.
You never know how you're going to meet your future wife, right, Alex?
Hey, all right. Yeah. So maybe I'll meet her after trading for another wife that does a terrible job.
No, hopefully you have found but you never know how you're going to go about you never know how you're going to go about finding these things. And if not for that cycle of unfortunate events that happened with a couple of kickers there, they wouldn't have come across Boswell. And it was meant to be too, because he was probably had a good 1 foot out of the league at the time.
Right. Who are the other kickers? I wonder they tried out when they worked out Boz. Let me see if I can.
Oh, I know it's in there somewhere.
I know you have. I know I can find that. It's just a question of how much yapping I have.
We've got to get a better search feature for the site, don't we? At least get it to return better returns. I think with some
maybe.
Things.
This is a fun little look there, but obviously Boz has been excellent.
It was in the rain too, wasn't it? Wasn't the workout in the rain or something like that?
Yeah. What year was that? It's been a long. I feel like Boz has been around not as long as he actually has. It's been like 7 years, and so that time just really, really flies by there. But in an AFC North with really good kickers, of course, in Justin Tucker, literally one of the greatest kickers of all time. Evan McPherson was excellent. The Bengals saw the value of a good kicker last year. Pittsburgh, of course, knows the value of a good kicker, and they're going to play in a ton of close games, low scoring affairs. They're going to need a guy to put 3 points on the board quite often, and Chris Boswell's going to be able to do that. So 2015 he's been with Pittsburgh, so it's a pretty long run.
Let's see, and perhaps this was written by this fellow's name is Alex Kozora. How did I find this quicker than you did? In perhaps a mild upset, Chris Boswell won the Pittsburgh Steelers kicking tryout over veterans Kai Forbath and Randy Bullock. Fat Randy. Yeah.
That's great.
According to the new kicker, Boswell didn't have to just battle two other people Saturday. He had to battle the elements. Boy, that
was a good writer back then.
That's good writing, man. Yeah. You hadn't been exposed to my stuff too terrible.
Yeah, all right.
This was October 5th, 2015.
So Forbath and Bullock were the two guys he competed with.
It was pouring rain, windy, all of the elements you want. I hear it gets pretty bad up here, so it was good to test, he told Teresa Varley of Steelers.com. Boswell won't have to worry about Heinz Field until October 18th, blah, blah, blah. Boswell will wear number 9 for the Steelers, Kozora reports.
I like to note the attribution in there as well for anyone wondering about that. Anyway, a crazy way to find him, but very glad that Boswell's been found. Very glad that he'll be a Steeler for the foreseeable future.
Right, and that we said all along that deal is going to get done. It got done, and now you got Minka, you got Boswell done, and now we sit and wait.
And let's just hope there's no repeat of 2018. We're fresh off a contract. You have an injury that, mars your season, almost gets you cut. People forget about that too.
Right.
He was literally about this close to getting cut because Pittsburgh was just trying to make a move there and kind of fought through it barely and turned the whole thing around in 2019. Right.
And look, the guy had a tremendous last couple seasons too. So,
right. And especially last year with a new holder as well, new snapper, new holder. I think Boswell even said maybe they weren't super comfortable at points last year, or at least more comfortable this year, and to still have a great year from 50 plus, the ability for him to make those 50 and plus and long kicks at Heinz Field. He's done that like no other kicker's really ever been able to do at Heinz Field / now Acrisure Stadium. So that alone, it makes him almost worth the entire money.
All right. We have covered, where shall we move on to next? You want to talk a little bit of some camp overview here or what? Injury report?
Yeah, just a brief overview. Obviously, we'll save most of the camp stuff for the special edition of the podcast each evening, but just to go over some of the injuries and lay the land for the team right now. Injuries right now include Najee Harris with a foot, Jeremy McNichols with a shoulder, Pat Frymuth with a hamstring, though he's making progress. Same with Chase Claypool, the right shoulder injury. Miles Killebrews been out since the first day with a pec injury. Marcus Allen, hamstring on his right leg. Levi Wallace, I think that's an illness-type related thing. Carl Joseph, that appears to be, as you said, a personal matter, so he should be back in the next couple of days, I'd imagine, there. And that, I think, is the bulk of the injuries.
We'll obviously wait and see. You tend to think, I think you guessed on the recap podcast that at least Minka and possibly even Tyson Alualu the Monday after the Friday Night Lights practice, which is this coming Friday.
Yeah, if you made me guess, and I think both guys are close, Minka especially, when they're going to come off of their NFI and PUP lists, I would guess Monday, following the off day. But I think it will be, as Omar Khan suggested, sooner than later for those guys, especially Minka. Minka feels like they're just going to be really cautious with him.
All right, and they probably would be wise to probably hold Najee out a couple more days as well too. I would think, right?
Yeah, I would think so. There's no need to try to rush or push him.
Maybe bring him back Friday Night Lights.
Maybe, yeah. I think it just, depending on what the doctors say, but certainly they're going to proceed with every bit of caution with Najee Harris.
All right, and it feels like this team's real close to having to make a move at several positions here, running back and potentially safety here, because those lines have gotten short. I think one thing, and it's just something we've talked about several times throughout this thing, man, at least the offensive line is able to get some work, some continuity together, and it's really a group of 6, and I'm fine with that right now while they figure it out. But at least it's something that we weren't able to say a year ago. So knock on wood that hopefully they're going to be able to continue that. We're not going to get deep into recap here overall, but kind of quickly recap where you are at the quarterback position through 6 positions, and then give us kind of a camp darling on offense and defense to date.
With quarterback, there's ebbs and flows. Trubisky got off to a better start. Pickett got off to a slower start. You're kind of seeing things shift a little bit where it's been tougher for Trubisky kind of since the pads came on. Pickett has made some progress. I think some of his practices have been overstated a bit by some of the other media, but there is certainly progress there. Rudolph's been maybe the most consistent guy. He certainly had some better days than others. He had a particularly rough day. I think that was the first day the pads came on. Didn't have a great practice overall. But there's ebb and flow there, which is kind of what I expected. I didn't expect anybody to be like super great from start to finish or terrible from start to finish. And those guys are kind of going to jockey. Kenny Pickett getting second team reps. But again, the overall number of reps is really all I care about. And they're pretty much identical between all 3 quarterbacks there. In terms of camp darlings offensively, I mean, George Pickens has obviously gotten kind of all the talk. It's not a darling in the sense of some sort of sleeper that no one talked about heading into this process. But Pickens, of course, has kind of shown all the traits that's gotten him drafted. Jalen Warren, the running back from Oklahoma State, probably fits that darling moniker better. I think just overall demeanor, competitiveness, availability. I wrote an article today exactly quantifying what more opportunity means for him with the running back lines getting shorter. Defensively, in terms of a darling, I praised Mark Robinson a fair bit, and maybe sometimes things are relative to expectations, where you didn't maybe have super high expectations for Robinson, not knowing what you'd get at a 7th round raw rookie from, Ole Miss, played 1 year linebacker, but I like what he's done so far. So it's still pretty early for some of the darling type stuff, but I think those guys have caught my attention.
All right, good deal there. I would like to read something from one of your critics, Alex. You have critics, you know that?
Oh, I'm well aware this time of year especially.
And I think Tuesday has become kind of the bash Alex on Twitter day officially. So
what do I win? What do I get?
No, it's not you win. It's just people things that a date that people have to mark on their calendar here.
Okay.
This in the I believe this comes from your recap of your training camp diary from yesterday. There from user AZ number 60. He says, I don't know, Alex, the tone of your writing on KP8. That's code for Kenny Pickett, by the way. Seems like you're trying to pour water on the kid. And in parentheses, I don't think that's your intention. Huh. Okay, so it seems like you're trying to pour water on the kid.
But it's not my intention.
But I don't think that's your intention. Every time I read one of your articles on KP8, they have a tinge of negativity in just about every update you've given. It's okay to be objective about his play, but it's also okay to give him credit for some good things he's done without a caveat. With the state of the team, I think it would serve you and the site, in parentheses, for clicks, to make sure the updates on KP8 play up to the hope and excitement about the future factor the fan base needs. And then he goes on to an example. What I'm talking about would be something along the lines of, in other words, he rewrites one of your quotes to make it sound more enticing to the fan base. So AZ dash number 60 thinks that we would be better served in your updates, Alex, to play up the more positivity aspect on and hopefulness of Kenny Pickett 8, and because that will help with our clicks and all. React to me.
That's becoming your phrase in these podcasts.
That comes from the old Jim. I think from the old Jim Rome show way back when he was in San Diego, and all like that. So that's where I'm pulling that out of the archives from.
Gotcha. Well, to react, I mean, I appreciate the feedback there, and I always take any sort of critique or criticism and think, how accurate is that? And, there were times yesterday I was writing that report and I was making sure my language, whenever I talked about, because I was writing something about Rudolph tucking and running, and I made sure it mirrored what I said with Pickett, because I was writing it differently than I kind of stopped myself and said, let's make sure that kind of matches and jives with what I wrote about Pickett, to make sure that I'm being as objective and fair to all those guys. I think the central issue that I would have with that is the comment, and I'm paraphrasing here, about write it in a way that plays up the hopes and desires of the fan base for Pickett to be the guy. I'm not going to do that. That's not my job to do. And I think that's probably where that tinge of negativity gets viewed, in the sense of it's on its face value, just kind of a normal objective retelling of what happened. But because people kind of want to see it being couched in this hopefulness, that it sounds negative when it's not.
They want it to be one way. They want it to, their hope and want as the fan is one way, and that anything that flies in the face of that becomes either a hater. Now, obviously there are some haters out there, but we talk all the time, you and I and Matthew and the new guys, make sure the biases and all, those kind of things can become obvious to each of us when reading each other's stuff sometimes, or in our language. Now, look, do biases sometimes creep in all this? Absolutely they do. But we have at this site have constantly been cognizant for such a long time of trying to stay as objective as possible. And it to be quite honest, at least with Matthew, myself, and Alex, it's cost us a lot of our fandom. It's come at a cost of our fandom. To be quite honest with you. But I don't think AZ number 60 is going to be around the site probably too much longer, because I think he's going to get his feelings hurt one too many times with some honesty here. And look, that's been the history of Steelers Depot. People come and people go, and the people that can see that we're really objective and the most objective site out there are the ones that stay, and then that's how we grow our fan base. So we'll see you around the corner, AZ number 60. That's all I got to say about that. But I found that interesting. I wanted to address that today, to say some of the criticism that we get. Silliness, really.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the feedback. I'm not, going to lose any sleep over it. I would say just two other quick things. Sometimes it's just the context of the play. I think probably one thing he's referring to is when I described the touchdown that Pickett had in 7 shots to Jay Sternberger, I said it was the would-be sack. That's just me describing the play. There was pressure. It wasn't Pickett's fault. There was pressure. And then he stepped up and he made a nice throw. He had a nice play. He hitched up in the pocket, kept his eyes downfield. Like I said, I think the most impressive trait that Pickett has shown so far is that ability to keep his eyes downfield as he's scrambling or moving in the pocket or getting off his kind of launch point. And so that, to me, has been really impressive and consistently shown throughout the first week of practice. Additionally, whenever I tweeted yesterday about that completion he had to Stephen Sims, to me, that was an underthrown football, and Sims had to kind of slow up and reach back for it. I didn't even mention that in the tweet. I just kind of talked about it because I didn't want someone to be like, well, Alex, you're trying to be negative, saying it was a good completion, but it's also underthrown. So I just left that part out. It's in the diaries, which was not included in my tweet. So I tried to be fair to Pickett. I think there has been progress made. It's been small. I think some of the progress in practices he's had are been overstated by some of the other media who's probably trying to hype him up and get the fan base all excited and get all the good retweets and stuff like that. We'll see where this thing goes. I still feel fine about the Pickett selection. I feel the same about it now as I did when I drafted the guy. So it's not like a week has changed my mind about really too terribly much in terms of his long-term future. And we'll see what today brings. We'll just take it day by day.
So in other words, we could have more clicks if you start changing the tone to be more positive about Kenny Pickett. Get on it, Alex.
I guess. I mean, I think I'm generally optimistic this time of year. Not from the click standpoint, but usually if it's whenever something good happens or whenever something bad happens in camp, usually it means something good happened as well. They're on both sides of the coin there. I try to focus on the guys who are doing well. But we're just going to tell you what happened, and it's a long process. And I think Pickett's done all right. And, he's getting a little bit better and getting more chances and running with different teams. So that's all good.
And I'm just shocked that Mason Rudolph's your new favorite quarterback, because you have not spoken positively at all about him over the years. And it's obvious that you're probably his agent. You're probably on the take now with them, aren't you?
I cannot confirm or deny the allegations against me. But anyway, I don't, people are going to criticize, and that's okay. That's fine. That's right. I'm in that position, and that comes with the territory, but I'm just going to focus on doing what I can do and write what I write, and people can take it however they wish. All
right. What else do we got?
Brian Flores. And this news kind of broke as I was driving yesterday, so I was trying to follow it and also not crash my car. But a lot of
don't crash
Miami
that
Dolphins.
Porsche.
It's not a Porsche. It's a very dirty car right now. The
take a lot more clicks to help pay for that.
Yeah. What if I say Kenny Pickett's doing a great job? Then that means my car's got some problems. So you kind of know when that's coming. Yeah. Miami Dolphins stalked with a first and third round pick for not what Brian Flores alleged, but related to, I guess you could call tampering with Tom Brady. And you might know the details better than I do, but essentially the NFL saying they did not find evidence of Brian Flores' allegation that the Dolphins and Stephen Ross, offered $100,000 per loss to Flores to tank the 2019 season. So Flores still believes that to be the case. I believe that suit is still ongoing, but from the NFL's investigation into Miami, they did not agree with the assertion.
Yeah, it almost feels like we're gonna trump up this tampering charge to help cover up this other end of it is kind of what it felt like, and basically saying we don't doubt what kind of Flores said. We just kind of think that the owner was kind of he's just joking. Them just jokes.
That typical joke that you know
how all owners stand around. I'd pay my coach $100,000 a lot. Like that just is a conversation that happens when you're playing cards. I don't think the NFL is doing a great job of making himself look great this last week. Personally, you look at the decision on, and obviously that was Sue Robinson, but I mean, and we'll see how this thing plays out long term here. But isn't it amazing how this thing came out too? What, a day after it's almost like let's push that Deshaun Watson news right out off the front page here.
Right.
I mean, it's all a damn conspiracy.
This for sure. It's a racket. Yeah.
Everybody's after me. But I don't. It's not looking great. This last week, and personally, I don't doubt what Flores said. And it just seems like they're trying to trump up the charges with the whole Brady tampering thing, So, yeah, we got him. We didn't get him on what people thought that we're going to get him on, but we got him. This is the Capone tax evasion kind of thing. We couldn't get him on the other stuff. We'll get him on that. Good analogy. Good analogy there.
But it is a pretty crazy thing, though, and I don't know the allegations specifically, but Miami was trying to both pull away Tom Brady and Sean Payton and make all these things happen during the season while those guys are with their teams. That's a new one. I've seen a lot of things. Haven't really seen that one before.
All right, so that will be and look, that suspension will end for the owner magically right before the Sunday night game with the Steelers against the Dolphins in Miami. You think Flores is going to want to win that one for the Gipper?
I wonder what we'll talk about that week.
Right. I bet Flores is going to have that defense jacked up for that one.
Mm-hmm. For sure. He's done a good job. And I think, again, it's no coincidence the inside linebacker play has been strong, both because of Flores' presence and the competition and everybody trying to scratch and claw and fight for a roster spot.
Okay, what else we got, Alex?
Yeah, real quick on the Watson thing. I think the NFL has until tomorrow on Thursday to decide whether or not to appeal. I know I kind of hemmed and hawed Monday when that news was still fresh. I think the NFL will appeal, and some of the reporting seems to lean that way as well. But why would the NFL not appeal? They obviously wanted more. It's not a quote unquote good look, generally speaking, league wide, that Watson only got 6 games. There's been a lot of criticism for that. So at this point, I'm expecting the NFL to appeal that.
All right, let's get to a couple questions real quick from Zach. Wonderful work at camp. My question revolves around roster predictions. Which of these 5 players below that neither of you included on your pre-camp predictions would you get the best chance to make the roster if the final cut down was today? He has Anthony Miller, Mark Robinson, Jalen Warren, Carl Joseph, and Carlos Davis. It would not be Joseph. It would not be Davis. I don't even think I know Anthony Miller's done okay so far, but I'm not even sure I'm there yet with him. Even though I'm hopeful. I think the guy's, had a good start to the camp. I would say either Mark Robinson or Jalen Warren.
The question was which players are most likely to make the 53 over those
5? It says
5?
Which of these 5 players below that neither of you included on your pre-camp predictions would give the best chance to make the roster if final cut down was today?
Oh man, because I just don't think about it in those terms because so much can change daily. A couple of days ago we weren't talking about Jalen Warren, and now everybody's kind of mentioning him. People
want definitives every day, don't they?
And I get that. Obviously I understand the question there. Maybe I'd be more likely to lean Miller than you might be, just based on how he's run during camp.
And you've seen it, I haven't.
Right. So I know obviously you're working kind of off of my information there. Robinson would be in that mix. I don't know though. It's a long process, so I'll have an updated prediction here, after that first game, and we'll know a lot more by then.
All of my info comes out of you and the Twitter machine and what few clips that are out there. So I really don't. I have learned over the years. I've done this many years now that I kind of use what Alex gives me now as kind of a filter. I'm taking all that info in. I'm kind of formulating things that I want to look at. About the second preseason game is when I really start and have watched them each about 10 times is when I start going, okay, this might be that. This might be that. Doing so before then, I'm just spinning my wheels, because once again, I'm not out there watching it. And look, we've talked too. You don't have the end zone view. You don't with these offensive linemen and all like that. So I would just say, just general, it would probably be Jalen Warren or Mark Robinson of the names, just based on everything that's out there so far. Jelani Suleiman wants more of a definite here, Alex. With it looking like it being Trubisky becoming the starting quarterback this season, do you think he will be an upgrade over the 2021 version of Ben Roethlisberger? What sort of stat line do you see for him? Thank you for taking for A. I'm not even going to touch the stat line because personally, I don't think Mitch Trubisky is going to make it a full season. I hope he does, because if he does, that means he's probably winning and playing well. So I'm not even going to predict a stat line for Trubisky. Do I think he'll be an upgrade over the 2021 version of Roethlisberger? I think he should hopefully be able to push the football. Look, this is more than just Mitch Trubisky at its core here. And we've kind of, at least in my view, we've talked about it several times. If this offense cannot run the football and they cannot get the quarterback under center more, and be able to work more of an offense out of maybe an uptick in 2 tight end groupings, and then when needed, take the shots down the football field and connect, then you better hope that you have the steel curtain on the other side over there, because they're going to have to win a lot of games 20-16, that kind of thing there. So upgrade over Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think you're going to get the clutchness, at least, late in games that you had in Ben Roethlisberger last year. You might get better ability to move the pocket, push the football down the field, that kind of thing. But if this team can't run, it don't matter.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to put that blanket statement. What I've said, and I've been asked this many times over the past couple of weeks, is in certain respects, Trubisky will be better in terms of fitting the candidate offense, in terms of the mobility to throw on the move, hopefully the vertical passing game, throwing, deep middle, down the seams. You're likely to see improvements there compared to Ben. Where we're going to lose out, where Ben's going to still be better is in terms of the leadership, the overall clutchness, reading defenses, getting this team out of, bad situations into good ones pre-snap, running no huddle, fourth quarter, just kind of those big gotta have it type of moments. You're not going to obviously get that with Trubisky the way that you had it with Ben. So it really depends on what you're talking about. Overall, who's going to be better? I don't really know. It's hard to say Trubisky will be better than Ben just because it's Ben and there was still a lot of intangible there despite all of Ben's limitations last year. But as you said, it really depends on how good is this run game, and that's going to be determining how good this offense and how well this team plays.
And how good of offense can the defense play?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of layers to that one.
Dan Hedrick writes in, "Hey guys, where can I watch all 22 tape? And can you touch on how much salary cap is left?" Did I mention that the Steelers only used $95,000 in cap space as part of the Chris Boswell deal? I think I was fixing to say that and didn't say it, but only used $95,000 additional in cap space as part of the Chris Boswell deal. All 22 tape. We'll see.
We're trying to figure that out for ourselves.
We will get it. We just don't know what means we will get it yet. The most common way, and for the common man, would be Game Pass or Plus or whatever through the NFL. But they have effectively managed to screw up their own product and make it almost unusable each of the last 3-4 years, I think. Right, Alex?
Yeah, they've done a bad job. They hate their clientele. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I would check NFL Game Pass, NFL Plus is going to be the best way publicly to get it.
All right. He also wants to know real quick where this team sits salary cap wise. I just wrote about that on a post yesterday morning on SteelersDepot.com. This team in real time, $13,950,841 under the cap. Not that that's specific.
Good
This team has plenty enough to work with right now, but if they did do a Diontae deal, something would have to give somewhere, I think, meaning probably, somewhat of a restructure with TJ Watt or something along those lines. I think in so many words, Omar was asked yesterday too, is where they're at with salary cap space. In other words, are they going to want to go into the season with about the same amount of room that they've gone into the season, last couple of seasons with, because of emergencies, practice squad, yada, yada. And of course, he's not going to tell you exact, but he says, yeah, about. So I have been using about a $9 million cushion all along because that's what it's been the last couple of seasons. So we'll see how close we are there. He was also asked about wide receiver traits and all like that as well, too. I thought that was interesting, saying we're not going to divulge the things that we look for there. Alex and I could probably divulge a couple of things after doing that long, but I thought that was interesting there. That wraps up the question from Dan. And let's do Dave and Alex. What's up? This is from Hunter. Training camp is interesting this year. Quarterback battle, blah, blah, blah. I'm most intrigued by has to be Miles Jack. Really hopeful this signing hits. Pittsburgh has a stud inside linebacker, or hasn't had a stud inside linebacker since Ryan Shazier, in my honest opinion. I also like seeing what Alex has been saying about Mark Robinson flashing at the position. He's a guy everyone had wrote off already. as soon as he was drafted, it felt. What is your overall outlook on the inside linebacker position currently? I know it's early, but in today's NFL, it's pivotal to have a good athletic range inside linebacker group. Just being competent does not cut it anymore. Says, Dave, we need some sort of Steelers Depot merchandise. He says, you're a metalhead like me, so having a black Steelers Depot t-shirt be the same satisfaction as having a band t-shirt there. Hunter, appreciate the email there. Look, it's hard to put anything out that has Steelers on it for obvious reasons there. And I admit we've kind of been dragging our feet with merchandise. It's not. We want to focus our efforts on more content, more content than we are designing a T-shirt to make $7 a T-shirt, that kind of thing. That's on me. Maybe we'll get. And if I did something like that, I'd want to do something for, have it go to charity or something like that, end of it there. So my apologies there. And as Alex has talked about the inside linebacker position, to be determined, man, this is going to be a battle.
It is. And it might be, and I said this before at camp, that it wasn't the most consequential battle, quarterback, left guard, etc., more important, more relevant to the 2022 Pittsburgh Steelers, but it would be, I think, the most intense one because, we'll call Miles Jack, Devin Bush, and Robert Spillane safe. However you want to determine that. That leaves two spots for four names: Marcus Allen, UG3, Buddy Johnson, and Mark Robinson. And all those guys, I think, in some ways, either on past resumes or current some performances, have really tried to state their case and their claim to make this team. And so it's a battle that will go down to the wire, bringing the best out in everybody, and it's been really exciting to watch.
Okay, we're running out of time. I got to get Alex's sandwiches made and the crust cut off and the Capri Sun in the bag.
Yeah, do not forget the Capri Sun.
What are you eating these days?
Not well. Terrible. It's
really?
A bunch of crap.
Junk food junkie?
It could be worse, but it's just a lot of snacks, and then I just eat too late. But that's fine. It's camp. I've come to accept that.
All right. And you'll be back out there again today, and you'll be recapping it with me later on in the evening there. Hope we didn't run this one too terribly long. We probably did. It should be about an hour or so.
Just over an hour. Yeah, we're good.
All right, not bad. All right. In the meantime, you can send all your Alex hates Kenny Pickett emails to theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to throw in a couple of Davis an asshole comments, same place, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at Alex. Follow me at Alex. At Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Yeah, once again, email show theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do, or even if you don't like what we do and you want to donate to the show and you want an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com. And upper right navigational bar, you'll find all the links needed to do that. Hopefully you're reading Alex's work online. Alex, we appreciate everything you do. You're fantastic. I don't tell you enough how much we appreciate the camp updates and all like that. So with that, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.